Hi. What you see on the screen there is the group of seven, also known as the G7. Now, this is a group of one of the world's most powerful economies that include United States of America, Japan, Germany, Italy, France, Canada, and as well as the United Kingdom or Britain. Now, they usually meet every year to discuss a couple of issues here and there. This year they had a conference in Cornwall, that is in the southwestern part of England, where they met and discussed a few issues. But one of the major issues that they discussed was how to counter the Chinese policies around the world, that is the Belt and Road initiatives and things of that sort. Now, what is interesting is I'm not here to discuss what they discussed, but I'm here to discuss how Ugandan protesters shined at the protest in Cornwall. So many protesters came, climate activists, so many protesters. Our brothers and sisters from Ethiopia, that is in Tigray region, were also there, and so many other people who wanted their voices to be heard. But of course, Ugandans living in England also joined the protests and went and protested. On Saturday, there was a big protest in Cornwall, and I'll show you a video here. And Ugandans protested on Facebook. There was an online protest as well as the physical protest in Cornwall, and so many people actually joined the Ugandans in to come and protest in their area where they had set up their PA posters and things of that sort. And really, the impact was made, given the fact that Uganda was now covered in the Guardian during this particular protest. Now I'll show you the picture here that says on the Guardian says that G Summit protests in pictures. Environmental campaigners stage a festival type protest at G7. All hot hair. UK commits to climate action but not to new funding. Now, just at the top of the Guardian, in the protests in pictures, it is Uganda there. We are just at the top. You see this lady? This lady is called Mavina Newton. She's a Black Lives Matter activist, and she's one of the people who gave a speech at the Ugandan section where the protests were happening from. Like you can see, our pictures were well represented. Uganda is bleeding, the pictures of Bobby Wine, and so on and so forth. This lady is called Patricia Sowungu. She's a really, really tough activist that was part of the protest, as well as David, Grace, and so many other people, as well as this lady. So Mavina joined the protests and gave a powerful speech, as well as Patricia gave a powerful speech. I'll upload that video I'll upload that speech in a different video. But given the fact that Mavina, ladies like Mavina, who are Black Lives Matter protesters, are now interested in Uganda, they are interested in African autocrats as well as African dictators, because gone are the days where Pan-Africanists, as well as people in our brothers and sisters, black people in the West, the likes of Akon, who are still doing that kind of game where they come and prop up dictators and crop up leaders of Africa who have, killed their fellow Africans and created all sorts of nightmare scenarios for fellow Africans. And then the people like Akon, they come out to whitewash the atrocities committed by these autocrats. I'm happy that the brothers and sisters in Black Lives Matter movement, the Pan-Africanist movements in the diaspora, are now waking up to African autocrats and realizing that these are the people that are actually creating problems on the continent. Now here they gave a caption: Mavina Newton of United for Black Lives, protesters in Falmouth, Cornwall during the G7 summit. Now that is, unfortunately, the Guardian, did not caption also to include that Ugandans protesting against Museveni's tyrannical dictatorship or protesting against that sort of thing. But you can see these other people were captioned very well. Penitents at the Extinction Rebellion event in Falmouth. Then you can see this one, rebellion protesters playing a game, Extinction Rebellion. Then you can see these ones, a protest at Falmouth calling for G7, stop war in Tigray. You get the point here, that highlighting the issue of Tigray, whereas here they highlighted the amazing Marvina Newton, but they didn't highlight the fact that she was protesting as well against the atrocities committed by the Museveni government, or the atrocities committed by the government in Uganda. Now, I'll show you the video here. Now, what that means is that what we see here is the fact that Uganda is now making it in such scenarios. The fact that we can be able to get slots and protest on the same stage or on the same level, or be among protesters, climate activist protesters, Tigray protesters, and all these other people. Because what we are creating is, we are creating synergies, as well as creating connections with these other activists around the globe, letting them know about the situation in Uganda. In some circumstances, the people who attended the protest, they gave us a report saying that people were even asking, how's Bobby Wine? How's Uganda? How are the people in Uganda? And people were saying, oh, we are praying for Uganda, for that old man to leave the country as soon as possible. And we were very happy to understand that people were actually following the situations that are happening in Uganda. And it is because of people like you who are on social media. It is because of people like you who watch us on YouTube and follow us on what we are doing, so that you are informed and you know what is actually taking place. That is really, really important, ladies and gentlemen, which is really something that really gives us more energy to keep on doing what we are doing, because so many media personalities were covering these people and asking them questions. The BBC, the Guardian, the CNN, they were all covering. And then it really created a very powerful impact, especially our brothers and sisters from Tigray, our brothers and sisters from other African countries that were protesting the support that these G7 leaders are giving autocrats and dictators like Museveni. So the importance of such a protest is, or because someone would say, oh, the climate activists were so many and so on and so forth. Oh, you guys were there, but still, what impact does it create? Well, it creates a very, very powerful impact, because whenever you go to such protests, they receive media coverage. You see, already we are in the Guardian protesting against Museveni, and that Museveni doesn't want to see. Because if Museveni sees you protesting alongside the Tigray guys, alongside the climate activists and all these other protesters, it really sends a very, very powerful message. And then to the icing on the cake is the fact that you have people like Marvina Newton coming and joining you in the protest and giving a powerful speech and talking about Uganda's life matters, African life matters on the same platform with the Ugandans. It really, really piques a lot of interest. So by going to such protests, it creates connections, it creates networks of other people who have, or who believe in the same things that you believe in, or who are interested in the same things that you are interested in. And that is why you see that people were very interested in what Ugandans were saying, what Ugandans were protesting about, and they came and asked about this and and that, and in one way or the other. So this brings me to a very important point of media, as well as media strategy, as well as being able to use such kind of events, being able to use such kind of videos, such kind of pictures, and using them as a people power media, or NUP media, or His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi's media, to broadcast it, to write articles about it, to mention it in one way or the other. Because this was a very powerful event that is not even covered in Ugandan media. Ugandan media has never covered any of the protests we have done in the West, because the government has strictly, or Museveni has strictly told them if they cover them, they will lose their license, or they will all lose their jobs. So even something powerful as this, where Ugandans shine at the G7 summit protests, they will never cover it. So how do we put the world out there? How do we let people know that Ugandans were here protesting? It is through social media, it is through Twitter, it is through Facebook, it is through different mediums that we all know about, that we can use in order to put the word out there. Because if we don't do that, then whatever we do will all remain in the shadows. That is how we bring it out that is how we should be bringing it out to the world, through social media. All NUP and well-wishers of NUP, as well as friends of NUP, as well as friends of People Power, friends of Bobby Wine, friends of Uganda, most especially, should be sharing such message and such information in order for this information to actually go a very, very, very long way. So the presence of Ugandans in the G7 protest, as well as taking part in the online protests that took place yesterday, is something that was really, 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 really effective. Really, really effective. The fact that Museveni, that's why you see Museveni is struggling with media. Museveni's lobbyists are struggling with the media. And how do we handle such scenarios? You can't prevent Ugandans to be given a slot, you can't prevent Ugandans to be given a slot to to go and attend the G7 protests. You can't prevent Ugandans to be written about in the Guardian and so on and so forth. So what happens afterwards is the fact that such things happen. We are featured in the BBC, we are featured in the Guardian. Now the lobbyists are supposed to block such stories from reaching the news, whereby because that is the news that the Washington strategists, as well as the people at Downing Street Plot 10, read. So when they read and say, oh man, these Ugandan guys are not going to stop at anything. So by doing these protests, you are amping up the pressure on these people. And what these people don't like is if you're putting them in the limelight, if you're pressuring them, they really, really don't like that. And that's the only way we can really, really stop them. Or we can really, stop them from supporting Museveni in one way or the other. So kudos for everyone who attended that protest. And if you're being called upon for any other protest, please endeavor to turn up, because every person, everything that you do, whenever you turn up, it really, really means a lot. It really, really goes a long way. You might look at yourself and say, oh, what am I going to really change whenever I go to this protest? You can really change a lot of things. Let me tell you, Museveni is always aware. He's always concentrating and asking, what are Ugandans in the diaspora doing? What are Ugandans in the diaspora doing? What are they going to do today? What are they going to do next week? And how do we go out of it? Or how do we, work on it? How do we sort it out? They are always worried on what Ugandans in the diaspora are doing, especially during these protests and things of that sort. So, for those who attended, Patricia and team, thank you very much. And other protests that are happening all over the country. You remember the protests that actually happened in in USA, where our brothers and sisters, they went and protested at Machure, the lobbyist firm from Museveni. And in the end, one of the ladies, Deidra Starch, who was handling the Ugandan file on behalf of Museveni, she resigned and threw away the file because of too much pressure, both on social media as well as at their offices in Washington. So she threw the job and said, it's too much for me. So that's how effective these things can be. So just don't think that you don't matter or you can't do anything about it. There is so much you can do. And for anyone from Museveni, this really sends him a lot of goosebumps in his stomach. Cheers. Thank you very much for listening. Let's meet in the next one. Shall be following more protests and looking forward to seeing NUP or People Power, as well as His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu unleashing a new media strategy, supporting such protests, supporting Twitter protests and things of that sort. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.